Welcome back. We're gonna work today with a new practice, a new model to learn how to use new resources. We're gonna click on new model, and the model units, we're gonna leave them this way. We're not gonna change anything at all. We're gonna click on OK. The resources we're gonna be learning today, the first one, the combiner, and the second is the separator. As you remember, we have used before the source to generate the arrivals into our model, the queue, to help us manage these arrivals and introduce them into the model, the processor that operates as a workstation to represent actually any workstation that we can find at any enterprise in the scene, that helps me to take out the item or the final product out of the system, out of the model. Alright, we have here another two new resources. The first one is the combiner. As you remember, in the last practices, the processor only received one item and the output was also one item. In this case, for the combiner, we can have two subcomponents, two items, and this resource will make it or will turn it into one item to make one product. The separator is the opposite, does the opposite function of the combiner. The separator receives one item, it can be a work in process, a product, and the separator makes this item, transform it into two different subcomponents. It could be one of them scrap, like usually happens in enterprises when different products are split into the working process. So let's continue. We're gonna make an example to see how they work. For this example, I'm gonna use two sources. I'm gonna use the combiner and the separator. I will also use conveyors for this example. The Strait Conveyor here. I will locate it here next to the combiner. I will move the separator only to explain some basics about this conveyor. As you can see here, red crosses. If you click here, you can make it longer as you need it, or you can make it shorter and move it in any direction you need it. I will leave it for this example with this longer, like this. I will put it next to the separator. I will add another straight conveyor. I will put it here. And I will add a cure conveyor. It is here. I'm gonna make it longer and I will put it in this place. Alright, you can make it longer like this or shorter by clicking and drag it down. This crosses. I will leave it like this. And now what we need to do is make the connections. As you remember, we have two different types of connections. The first one is to connect objects, in this case the resources that are connected to make the flow sequence, the sequence of the flow production. I'm gonna click in this part. We can also use the key A on our keyboard. I'm gonna click to tell the software the sequence with the key A from here to here. And now we have indicated or pointed out that from here and here go to this place. this combiner. I'm gonna keep making the connections from the combiner to the conveyor, from the conveyor to the separator, from the separator to the cure conveyor, and from the separator to the other straight conveyor. Alright, I'm gonna move the separator only to see if the connections are right. Alright, I see everything is connected. It was only to check. And now I need an exit for the working process or for the product. I'm gonna add another rack. The rack is here. I will drag it down and put it in this place. And I will add a sink to represent the shipping of the product. I need to finish the connections between all the resources that make the flow production. On our keyboard, the key A, we connect it, and we connect this with this one. Alright, stop and reset. We're gonna change something here in the source one. We're gonna change the class of the flow item. We're gonna change it, the boss, we're gonna change it to pallet. And we're gonna see how it works. Stop, reset, and run. Okay, as you can see, the pallet is with the bots. And when they come to this separator, they are divided to different conveyors. This is supposed to be, it's an example, the final product, and goes to the shipping. And the pallet is stored in the warehouse, well, in the rack, to keep them in order. In this, let's suppose it's a warehouse, we're gonna save them. Alright, as you can see, the combiner receives two subcomponents. One is the pallet and the another one is the bots that is representing any raw material or any working process. This is only to see as an example how they work. In the separator receives two subcomponents and splits them. Okay, let's continue. We're gonna add some elements to make it more realistic and to make it more visually complete. We're gonna stop, we're gonna reset. For this part, I'm gonna erase the sink. I'm gonna add another rack. If I want that this rack faces in vertical position with this face to the processes, I need to click here and change it with 270 grades. Okay, because it turns in this direction. As you can see here with this image, this is the direction it turns the item. For that part, I needed 270 grades, because if I write 90 grades, I will have it in vertical position, but with this face looking in other direction. So it's only an observation for you to have it right. Let's continue. I'm gonna erase this connection because I'm gonna add queues to manage the different arrivals, in this case the pallets and the boxes. We can do that with this option, disconnect objects, here and here, and here and here. I'm gonna erase this connection too because I wanna add a transporter that takes the pallet and move it to the rack. I will erase it. Alright, we can continue. I'm gonna add the queues. I'm gonna change the name. Pallets warehouse. Raw material warehouse. And we're gonna make the connections with the key A on our keyboard from source to this queue, and from the queue to the combiner. We're gonna do the same from this source to this queue, and from this queue to the combiner. Alright. We're not gonna make the connections here because I need to explain you something before, but we're gonna add the operators and the transporters for the pallets and for the boxes. Let's suppose I want a transporter in this part and I need a person, an operator from here to here. I'm gonna do the same in this part. An operator from here and a transporter in this part. Alright. Here, a very important observation for you when making your model is when we want a person, an operator, or a transporter in this case, to move the pallet or any item, if we wanted to take it directly from the conveyor to the rack, we cannot do it by using the transporter or operator. Why? Because the conveyor is a resource that is supposed to be in constant movement. The software cannot make this function as it's constantly working. In real life, the conveyor will be dropping the item or the working process, and it's not convenient for us in our model that the operator or the transporter take it from here directly. We need to add a processor that makes the function as a port, let's call it that way, where the item, the working process, will arrive in this place, and here will be static for any operator, any transporter to take it and move it to a place where it's necessary to be located. For that reason, we're gonna add a processor here, and we're gonna add a processor also here. With these resources, we can leave the item in this place, so it's possible for the operator take it from these points and leave it where we need to locate the items. We're gonna add some connections here with our key A, the conveyor to the processor, and from the processor to the rack. We're gonna do the same here, from here to here, and from here to here. Okay, Now we need to make the connections but for the transporters and the operators. Let's start with this one, the transporter number 1. With our key S, I'm gonna select this queue because the transporter is gonna take the pallet from here. I'm gonna select the transporter and he will take it to the combiner. So we can see the connections. Alright, we're gonna do the same with this warehouse, raw material warehouse. We're gonna select this operator and we're gonna select this combiner. Now we need to do the same with this part. We're gonna select this processor. We're gonna select the transporter and the rack. We're gonna do the same here. This processor and this operator and this rack. Something that I always do to check if my connections are right is move the resources to see if it's connected with the other stations. Okay, I can see the lines, so we can say it's connected. The resources are connected. Here, remember, we need to enable the use transport option. Here, we're gonna click in this part. Also here, use transport. Here, we don't need to make any change because, as you can see, when we connect a conveyor to any other resource like this one, the combiners and separators, it automatically transports the item through all these resources, so there's no problem here. We're gonna make the changes only where it's necessary. Here, use transport, and here, use transport. Alright, we're gonna click on stop and reset, and let's see how it works. Alright, the pallet and the box. Alright, it goes to the conveyors. Alright, there's a small detail here, but I will explain it to you. As you can see, in this processor, even though that the conveyor is located in this part, we can see the pallet is moving from left to right. Can you see that? This is because this resource, per default, works from left to right. If we want it to visually work correctly, we need to move this workstation in 180 grades. We're gonna do that. Stop, reset. This one, we click on it, and we go here, 180 grades to move it, to turn it over, and now it's supposed to work visually correctly with the pallet moving from right to left. We're gonna see it. Stop, reset, run. Okay, as you can see, it's going now from right to left, the palette, and it's visually more realistic. I'm gonna hide the connections. I'm gonna add a plane. Okay, this was only an example for you to understand how to use these resources to make different processes where we can find different subcomponents that when working into a process they could be made into one product. It can happen the opposite too, where we can find that one product it can be turned into many different components. Sometimes the scrap is involved in that process. We can represent with this type of resources the separator. And that's it, guys. This was only an example for you to see how they work, how to use these new resources. We can make more complex structures of processes, systems, or models. That's up to you to your capability of working. I know you can do it. And that's it for this video.